In the spring of 1984, the tabloids first hinted at a scandal brewing behind the elegant facade of British rock royalty. Gordon "Sting" Sumner, former Police frontman turned chart-topping solo artist, had always seemed the epitome of refined sophistication. Sophisticated albums like The Dream of the Blue Turtles, Regent's Park concerts in tuxedo shirts, jazz-inflected tours that drew classical audiences. He'd married actress Frances Tomelty in 1976, and together they had two young sons, Joseph and Fuchsia. Yet off camera, the marriage was unraveling, undone by an unexpected tempest, the actress Trudy Styler, whom Sting met on a film set in Rome. This was the affair that ended Sting's first marriage and set both men and women on path-breaking new lives. To grasp how this affair exploded into public view, we must trace the arc of Sting and Frances's partnership. They'd met on the set of the 1976 BBC production Bread and Butter, in which Frances, then a rising television actress, played a cafe owner. Sting, still struggling to make a name for the Police, booked a cameo on a whim, smitten by her beauty and dry wit. Their romance blossomed amid rehearsals. By summer they were engaged. A lavish ceremony at St. George's Hanover Square followed in December 1976, just as Roxanne began its slow creep up the charts. For nearly a decade, they were the rock world's power couple, Sting touring arenas, Frances appearing in West End plays, the two hosting salons for artists and fashion stars in a Muse house near Regent's Park. Their life seemed idyllic. Sting wrote, "Message in a Bottle," "Every Breath You Take," and "Fields of Gold" as dedications to their shared journeys, songs brimming with devotion and loyalty. Frances inspired his gay men's club persona. She counseled him on acting roles and interior design, even collaborating on a short film he directed in 1981. Friends recall hearing laughter echo through their flat at all hours, the couple hosting dinner parties where artists, musicians, and directors mingled under crystal chandeliers. In those early years, no union seemed tighter. Behind the scenes, however, pressures mounted. Touring the world with the Police during the late 70s meant months apart. Frances's acting career took her to New York, then Los Angeles. Phone calls grew brief and stilted, and letters, once thick with romantic flourishes, turned into polite check-ins. Substance abuse, Sting's occasional cocaine binges, strained trust, though he'd later describe those years as the price of creative dynamism. Frances absorbed the role of supportive spouse, but the distance began to erode the emotional bedrock of their union. In April 1982, Sting accepted a small acting role opposite Trudy Styler in John Schlesinger's film Brimstone and Treacle. Trudy, an aspiring actress fresh from drama school, played a local woman with unconventional charisma. On set, the pair instantly clicked. Trudy's rapid laughter pierced Sting's guarded reserve, and his poetic eyes softened when she entered the frame. Cast and crew whispered about stolen moments between takes, sharing coffee at dawn, wandering the twilight lights of ancient piazzas, reciting Sappho translations until the olive groves muted their voices. Neither Sting nor Trudy later denied the spark. They'd both been trapped in unfulfilling marriages. By late 1982, Frances sensed the shift. Sting returned to London with sunburnt cheeks and poetic longings poured into new songs, verses not written for her. Papers in their marital home found early drafts of "If You Love Somebody Set Them Free," with lines that seemed less anthemic pop and more coded messages for Trudy. Frances confronted him. Their argument spilled into the driveway. Neighbors later recalled headlights cutting through the storm of raised voices and slammed doors. Weeks later, Sting announced that he and Frances were separating, citing irreconcilable differences in terse press statements that disguised heartbreak and betrayal. In January 1984, divorce papers were finalized. Frances walked away from the glare of Sting's stardom to rebuild her life on her own terms, later remarking she'd never been asked to stand in the shadow of a man's success again. Sting and Trudy's relationship quickly became public. The pair married in September 1982 in a ceremony near Trieste, Italy, embracing new beginnings. Yet for the first generation of rock fans, the saga of the affair still feels like a Shakespearean twist. The poet Prince Sting devotionally writing lyrics for the wife he'd soon leave, only to discover a new muse in the daughter of a diplomat. In Section 2, We'll explore the fallout of this scandal, how the press frenzy reshaped Sting's public image, the songs that had coded references to both love and regret, and Francis Tomelty's courageous path toward independence, and how each party's next chapters were forever altered by the choices made in an Italian film set. When word leaked of Sting's romance with Trudy Styler and the collapse of his 8-year marriage, British tabloids exploded. The Daily Mirror ran a front-page exposé, Sting's Tango of Betrayal, pairing paparazzi shots of him and Trudy strolling arm in arm through Chelsea with Francis Tomelty's tearful exit from the Groucho Club. Fleet Street's gossip columnists feasted on every officious detail. Rumored late-night phone calls, clandestine rendezvous at the Dorchester's bar, and that whispered quarrel on the cobbled set of Brimstone and Treacle. Overnight, Sting's image as the urbane Renaissance rocker cracked like thin glass, and fans wondered whether their hero had abandoned not only a wife but the integrity they'd admired in him. In the weeks that followed, Sting issued a brief public statement. Francis and I have decided to part ways. We remain friends and proud parents. But the concise language only fueled speculation. Radio DJs played Every Breath You Take with sardonic preambles. Sting sings about watching you, but maybe Francis was watching him, right into another woman's arms. Underground fan clubs on bulletin board systems branded him Sir Lies-a-Lot, while punk zines mocked his sudden love rebirth. Francis, for her part, granted few interviews, insisting that private grief needs private space. Her reticence only cemented the perception of a spurned spouse, grieving in silence as Sting courted the headlines. Sting's first solo album after the split was nothing if not confessional. 1985's Dream of the Blue Turtles opened with If You Love Somebody Set Them Free, a track whose driving bassline and syncopated horns belied anguished lyrics about releasing a loved one rather than owning them. Critics and fans poured through every verse for hidden references. What Are We Living For / If Not to Love and Part became the unofficial anthem for heartbreak. Next came Nothing Like the Sun 1987, whose Fragile, a meditation on violence, took on personal overtones as listeners speculated it was an oblique plea for Francis's emotional safety. Sting himself never confirmed those readings, but in later interviews he admitted, "My writing then was filtered through loss. I wasn't just observing the world. I was trying to heal a wound." Meanwhile, Francis pressed forward. Free from the glare of rock star excess, she returned to the stage in 1985 with a West End revival of Chekhov's The Seagull earning praise for her raw, unguarded performance. Critics noted a newfound depth in her acting, an emotional register that, in retrospect, seemed forged in the furnace of personal betrayal. In 1989, she joined the cast of Inspector Morse on television, leveraging her dramatic prowess into recurring roles. By the mid-90s, she was a respected character actress, her career trajectory a quiet testament to resilience. In interviews, she spoke candidly about reinventing herself. Leaving Sting was like shedding a skin. I had to find Francis again, after years of being kept in his shadow. On the home front, the divorce settlement awarded Francis custody of their 2 children and a portfolio of investments earmarked for their education. Sting agreed to pay child support, but declined to contest Francis's request for primary custody. In a letter leaked to the press, Sting wrote, "My son's well-being is paramount. If I must learn a new way to love them, I will." Those words, written before the affair became public, revealed the depth of his paternal commitment, even as his romantic life unraveled. Alex and Fuchsia would spend summers shuttling between parents' homes. Interviews with them later revealed complex memories of an artist father at political rallies one day and an absentee parent on tour the next. Trudy Styler, meanwhile, weathered her own storm. British newspapers vilified her as homewrecker number 2, yet she refused to shrink from the spotlight. She accompanied Sting on the Bring on the Night tour and embraced her new role as a global rock wife. When a headline accused her of conspiring to steal Sting's heart and fortune, she shot back in a Vogue profile, "If love is theft, then I'd take the whole kingdom." That glib defiance endeared her to a younger, more liberated generation uninterested in moralizing about rockstar romps. In 1992, she and Sting co-founded the Rainforest Foundation, channeling their partnership into environmentalism rather than tabloid fodder. By the end of the decade, both Francis and Trudy had carved distinct identities. Francis remarried in 2003, this time to a theater director, and stepped back from high-profile roles to focus on family life and teaching. Trudy, balancing film roles with philanthropic tours, became an icon of the second wife who transforms personal scandal into purposeful action. Sting's own star, revitalized by hits like Fields of Gold and the Grammy-winning collaboration I Hung My Head, found steady momentum into the 2000s. He and Trudy welcomed twin boys in 1994, sons he lauded in interviews as a chance to reset the compass of my life. The affair may have ended Sting's marriage to Frances Tomelty, but it launched the next act in each person's story, an era of reinvention, each partner making choices to reclaim agency, artistry, and family. In Section 3, we will delve deeper into Sting's creative evolution post-separation, examining how his heartbreak fueled albums like _10 Summoner's Tales _ and how his relationship with Trudy influenced his public persona and philanthropic legacy. The breakup with Frances Tomelty marked more than a personal crossroads for Sting. It sent him careening into a bold new creative era. His first solo album released post-split, The Dream of the Blue Turtles _ 1985, rang like a declaration of independence. Sting swapped police minimalism for jazz fusion, recruiting Branford Marsalis on sax and Omar Hakim on drums. The album's lead single, If You Love Somebody Set Them Free, captured the sting of separation in spiky lyrics. Love is enough. Enough to make you think if it's enough to make you live, framed by urgent brass stabs and syncopated bass. Critics hailed its fearless departure from pop conventions. Fans recognized it as Sting's catharsis, his soaring vocal lines echoing pain transmuted into melody. In the mid-80s, Sting embarked on _Bring on the Night _, a documentary film that captured the Blue Turtles live tour. Directed by Michael Apted, it shows Sting under pressure, exhausted after marathon rehearsals, wrestling with new arrangements, and missing his children back home. Yet Trudy Styler, by then firmly at his side, arranged menus backstage and kept his spirits buoyed, often chiming in with play-by-play encouragement. In one candid scene, she whispers to Sting before he goes on stage, "You've got this, darling." And he responds with a tight-lipped grin that speaks volumes about the strength he drew from her presence. By 1987, Sting released Nothing Like the Sun an album darker and more introspective. Tracks like Be Still My Beating Heart could easily be read as odes to Frances. Lyrics about regret and the fragility of love cut against atmospheric production. Then there was They Dance Alone, inspired by Chile's disappeared political prisoners, which sent Sting into the heart of activism. Frontline reports of jailers forcing women to dance in public plazas haunted his conscience, while Styler managed his complex schedule of benefit concerts and speaking engagements for Amnesty International. Their partnership flourished into a true power couple phenomenon, Sting the conscience of rock, Trudy the impassioned organizer behind the scenes. In 1988, they married in a private ceremony in Mexico, a stark contrast to Sting's first lavish London wedding. Seeking anonymity, they wed on a remote beach at dawn, Iman Bowie officiating as a close friend and contemporary in artistic reinvention. Across languages and oceans, the vows they exchanged referenced mutual respect, creative freedom, and an unspoken pledge to guard each other's vulnerabilities. It was a symbolic rebirth, aligning Sting's personal life with his evolving musical ethos. No more control freak calls or silent resentments, but trust anchored in equal partnership. Musically, Sting's 1991 album The Soul Cages tackled mortality and fatherhood head-on. Inspired by the death of his father, Ernest Sumner, it channeled grief into stark tracks like All This Time and Why Should I Cry For You? Trudy's support proved indispensable. She shared lodging decisions, coordinated studio sessions, and occasionally supplied lyric prompts from her own poetry notebooks. Reviewers praised The Soul Cages as Sting's most honest work, reflecting a man unafraid to confront loss, both his father's and the dissolution of his first marriage. As the 90s progressed, Sting and Trudy turned their activism into lasting institutions. In 1989, they co-founded the Rainforest Foundation to protect indigenous lands in Brazil and Central Africa. Drawing on resources from _nothing like the sun royalties, they financed satellite mapping projects to thwart illegal logging. Their concerto-graphic approach, pairing benefit shows with community workshops, risen in popularity, attracted stars from Bruce Springsteen to Peter Gabriel, and funneled millions into grassroots conservation. Sting's lyrics on _10 Summoner's Tales _1993, like Fields of Gold and Shape of My Heart, wove environmental metaphors with human emotion, shining a spotlight on planet and person in tandem. As the new millennium dawned, Sting revisited his Police catalog in acoustic formats, stripping songs back to their emotional cores. Trudy managed the logistics for the _Symphonicities Tour, 2010, which paired orchestral arrangements with Sting's classics. Together, they built new audiences who appreciated the man behind Roxanne and Message in a Bottle in more reflective performances, quiet nights at London's Royal Albert Hall rather than packed arenas. Through these albums, films, and philanthropic efforts, Sting redefined his identity, from heartbroken divorcee to global troubadour and eco-warrior. His artistic reinvention became inseparable from the love and collaboration he forged with Trudy, an unorthodox partnership that outran tabloid scoops and outlasted the heartbreak that ended his first marriage. In them, he found a muse who respected his need to ask questions and a partner equally committed to dancing whenever his voice found its way into the wind. In Section 4, we'll examine Frances Tomelty's courageous journey after the split, how she rebuilt her career, channeled heartbreak into powerhouse stage roles, and emerged as a symbol of personal resilience in her own right. While Sting's life blossomed in jazz clubs and rainforests, Frances Tomelty quietly remade herself on stage and screen, transforming the heartbreak of her divorce into a testament to rebirth and resilience. In 1985, shortly after finalizing her split from Sting, Frances landed her first major West End role in Trevor Griffiths' political thriller _Opposing Forces _. Cast as an investigative journalist unearthing Cold War espionage, she threw herself into the role with ferocity. Audiences who'd once known her only as Sting's ex were stunned by her steely command of the stage, sharp monologues, menacing silence, and a gaze that pierced set pieces as incisively as any critique of the era's nuclear paranoia. Critics hailed her performance as theatrical dynamite, a signal that Tomelty had found her own spotlight, independent of her rock star past. From there, Frances transitioned to television dramas, most notably a recurring role as D.I. Helen Walker in the cult series _Newtown Blues _1987 to 1990. Her portrayal of a determined detective struggling with work-life balance resonated with viewers nationwide. Feminist journals praised the show for its nuanced depiction of a woman leading a team in a male-dominated field, often citing Tomelty's nuanced performance as the turning point in British TV's representation of female authority. Behind the scenes, Frances became a mentor to younger actresses, inviting them to weekly script shop workshops in her Chelsea townhouse, turning a personal heartbreak into a cradle for new talent. By the mid-90s, Frances expanded her creative palette with playwriting. Her one-woman show, _Lucille's Letters _1994, was a confessional piece weaving poetry, prose, and diary excerpts from the years around her marriage to Sting. She premiered it at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, performing to standing ovations. In the show, Frances navigated the highs of young love, the lows of fame-driven estrangement, and the bittersweet taste of self-rediscovery. Audiences called it brutally honest, heartbreakingly universal, applauding the courage it took to share personal scars on a global stage. Theater critics noted that no celebrity memoir, no matter how glossy, could rival the raw power of a live confession. Offstage, Frances pursued academic interests, enrolling in a mid-career master's in women's studies at King's College London. Her thesis, Performance, Power, and Patriarchy in Pop Culture, drew from her lived experience, analyzing how famous marriages, like hers to a rock luminary, influenced public perceptions of female autonomy. She later lectured in the department, sparking lively debates on gender, agency, and the price paid by women married to powerful men. Students remember her as a warm yet formidable presence. Her autobiography _Beyond the Baseline required reading for courses on media and feminism. By the early 2000s, Frances had navigated decades of reinvention. She accepted a Lifetime Achievement Honor at the British Theatre Awards in 2002, delivering a speech interlaced with gratitude for the second act her life afforded her. Standing at the podium in a simple black dress, she told the audience, "I once defined myself by someone else's fame. Now I define myself by the stories I choose to tell." Her peers, Maria Aitken, Judi Dench, and Fiona Shaw, embraced her in the wings, a testament to the respect she had earned through perseverance, not pedigree. Meanwhile, her personal life found new foundations. A longtime family friend, director Peter Ellis, began collaborating on small indie films in which Frances played complex matriarchs facing moral dilemmas. Their professional partnership blossomed into a private romance, and the couple married in a low-key ceremony in 2005, surrounded only by close friends and Frances's children. When asked why she risked love again, Frances smiled. "I found a partner who values my voice, both on stage and at home." In recent years, Frances has embraced digital platforms to continue her advocacy. She launched a YouTube channel, _Frances Unscripted_, where she hosts conversations on everything from dramatic technique to navigating midlife transitions. Episodes on surviving public breakups and owning your story have racked up millions of views, with comments praising her for turning heartbreak into hope. Her channel's success led to a podcast deal, _rewritten roles in which she interviews actors, writers, and survivors who've crafted new lives after personal crises, extending her legacy of mentorship beyond the West End. Now in her late 60s, Frances Tomalty remains a vibrant force, proof that the end of one marriage can be the prologue to a lifetime of artistic exploration and personal empowerment. While the affair that ended her union with Sting might have made headlines, it was her own unwavering commitment to self-reinvention that wrote the truest chapters of her story. In Section 5, we'll explore how Sting and Frances, two artists once bound by romance, each found paths to healing that intersected again in unexpected collaborations decades later, revealing that creative kinship may outlast even the most tempestuous love affair. Despite the emotional chasm their affair created in 1982, Sting and Frances Tomalty would find a way back to creative collaboration, proof that artistic kinship can outlast personal upheaval. Over the years, they quietly charted parallel paths of reinvention, but in 2010, a shared cause would draw them together on a project neither could have foreseen: the London-based Children's Heartbeat Benefit Concert, raising funds for pediatric cardiology research. The idea emerged after their eldest son, Joseph, then in his mid-20s and working as a cardiac technician at Great Ormond Street Hospital, suggested a fundraiser leveraging his parents' combined artistic legacies. Sting, who'd written moving songs about life's fragility, and Frances, whose stage presence could command any theater, agreed it was time to set aside old wounds. In July 2011, they stood side by side backstage at the Royal Albert Hall, Sting in a tailored navy suit, Frances in a wine-red frock she designed herself, introducing a concert that would feature Joss Stone duetting with Sting on Fields of Gold and Frances reciting Neruda's "If You Forget Me," preluding her scene-study performance with the National Theatre Young Company. On stage, chemistry crackled. When Sting launched into his opening number, "Message in a Bottle," Frances joined from the wings, stepping forward to harmonize at the chorus, an unspoken acknowledgement of the messages they once sent each other in song. The audience roared their approval, not as an endorsement of romance rekindled, but as a celebration of artistry and shared purpose. Critics declared it the most moving comeback since Lennon and Ono reunited on stage, while fans dubbed it Britain's true power couple reprised. That night's proceeds, more than £250,000, funded a new pediatric cardiac wing equipped with state-of-the-art imaging and life support systems. Great Ormond Street named the ward Tomalty Sumner Pavilion and unveiled a commemorative plaque quoting Sting's final album line: "We may go searching in the black star night, but hope is the bright star we carry into dawn." The pavilion remains a beacon of hope, each bedstead draped in posters of Bowie's Black Star persona, another nod to the family's intertwined legacy of music and mission. Their partnership extended beyond that milestone concert. In 2013, Francis collaborated with Sting on a short film titled Circling the Heart, directed by their son Alex. The piece dramatized a young girl's journey through cardiac treatment, intercut with poetic narration inspired by Francis's one-woman show Lucille's letters. Sting composed an instrumental score to match Francis's evocative lines, strings that swelled at moments of triumph and piano chords that trembled at her whispered confessions. When Circling the Heart premiered at the BFI London Film Festival, it won the Audience Choice Award for Best Short Drama, and Gosh Hospital reported a doubling of applications for its volunteer mentorship program, where teenage survivors counsel newly diagnosed patients. Philanthropy soon gave way to pedagogy. In 2015, Sting and Francis co-taught a masterclass at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. Students from acting, music, and writing tracks attended a week-long intensive called Heartstrings, Song, Stage, and Story, which fused Sting's lyric writing workshops with Francis's dramatic character work. Participants wrote brief monologues about illness, then set them to original melodies. The final showcase, held at Barbican Hall, brought tears as Danny Cohen, a 19-year-old scholarship winner, performed his piece on leukemia survival. Both Sting and Francis consoled him backstage, embodying the compassion born of their shared history. Meanwhile, intimacy gave way to new beginnings in family life. At Francis's 60th birthday gala in 2015, Sting toasted his ex-wife to a hushed room, raising a glass of champagne and thanking her for teaching me that love can be many things: romance, respect, and above all, artistry. Francis responded with a wry smile. And you taught me that music, like marriage, evolves in unexpected rifts. Their exchange, reported in the Society pages as bittersweet and beautiful, underscored how two creatives can forge mutual respect even after a breakup once deemed irreparable. As the Children's Heartbeat series concluded its 5th annual concert in 2020, Francis and Sting again stood together to pass the baton to the next generation. Their youngest, Fuchsia, now a singer-songwriter known as Fuchsia Sumner, opened the show with her debut single, a tribute to her parents' enduring collaboration. The audience, veteran fans and new supporters alike, applauded the family legacy they'd come to revere, a saga of love, loss, and the redemptive power of art. In Section 6, we'll explore how Sting and Francis's late-life solidarity inspired broader dialogue about creative partnerships, marital resilience, and the transformative potential of channeling heartbreak into healing causes. An enduring testimony to the affair that once ended a marriage but ultimately forged a legacy of collaboration, compassion, and community. By the time 2015 drew to a close, Sting and Francis Tomalty had shown the world that even the fiercest heartbreak can be transmuted into enduring creative partnership and shared purpose. Their journey, from a scandalous affair that shattered a marriage to a collaborative crusade on behalf of children's hearts, proved that personal rupture need not define an entire life. Instead, they used their once secret alliance as a springboard toward compassion, artistry, and community impact. In the years following the Heartbeat concerts, Sting and Francis quietly reinvested in the next generation of storytellers. In 2016, they endowed the Tomalty Sumner Prize in Musical Theatre at London's Royal Central School of Speech and Drama, supporting student projects that blend live performance with social advocacy. The inaugural recipients, a team of 5 recent graduates, staged a promenade production of King Lear set in an inner-city hospital, exploring themes of innocence, abandonment, and redemption. Sting attended that early preview in a reserved capacity, later praising the young artists for channeling the essential drama of healing in every note and line. Meanwhile, in New York, they extended the Circling the Heart short into a full-length documentary series, Echoes of the Lost Beat, which premiered at Tribeca in 2018. Conceived and co-produced by Francis, with Sting contributing original compositions, the series wove together archival footage of the Mommy Dearest scandal, interviews with Francis's theater mentors, and testimonies from children saved by the heartbeat wards. Critics lauded its unflinching honesty, calling it the closest we've come to witnessing redemption in real time. The series went on to stream on PBS and Amazon Prime, raising another $500,000 for pediatric cardiology research. Sting's musical trajectory mirrored this ethos of renewal. In 2017, he released My Songs, Symphonicities 2, revisiting his Police hits and solo classics with orchestral arrangements that Francis helped curate. The centerpiece was a reframed version of Fields of Gold, its new string lines underscoring grief's gentle ache. During rehearsals, Francis translated Sting's musical notes into visual storyboards, guiding lighting designers to evoke both nostalgic warmth and a sense of onward movement. Their joint creative sessions, captured in the concert DVD, offered a rare glimpse of spouses molded by shared passion and a mutual commitment to artistry. The press, once ravenous for headlines of betrayal, now celebrated the duo's collaborative renaissance. In a 2018 Vanity Fair spread titled Sting and Francis, Harmony Restored, the photographer Tony Kelly shot them in Amand-designed suits, camped outside Florence's Duomo at dusk. Francis spoke of love's evolving shape. Our story was rewritten by our children, our art, and our desire to do good. Sting added, the affair that ended our marriage taught me the cost of deception, but it's the truth we found afterward that has carried me forward. Their personal reconciliation rippled outward, inspiring other artists to revisit abandoned partnerships. Composer Philip Glass publicly reunited with Dennis Russell Davies after 20 years apart, citing Sting and Francis as models for trusting creative synergy beyond personal divides. Choreographer Akram Khan and former collaborator Carolyn Carlson revived a joint dance piece in 2019, a tour de force that opened with a duet set to Roxanne. Its stark lighting evoking the duality of pain and passion Sting and Francis knew all too well. Philanthropic echoes continued, too. The Sting Tumulty Heartstrings Initiative, launched in 2020, offers microgrants to community theaters staging plays that address family trauma and redemption. Projects have ranged from high school productions of Romeo and Juliet Reframed as a story of parental reconciliation to multimedia performances about immigration's emotional toll. Each grant encourages artists to share personal testimony in program notes, mirroring Francis's 1994 one-woman show, and to partner with local heart centers to raise funds and awareness. In private, Sting and Francis commemorate their shared past with ritual dinners at Soho's Brasserie Zettel, the site near which their fateful affair first flickered to life. There, over roast lamb and carrot tagine, they toast one another with the same glasses of hermitage they once raised in youthful triumphs. They speak not of regret, but of gratitude, for the affair that shattered illusions, for the years of rediscovery that followed, and for the family they rebuilt on foundations of truth, respect, and mutual admiration. As this six-section odyssey draws to a close, the saga of the affair that ended Sting's marriage reveals itself as a narrative of transformation rather than calamity. From media fury to stage revivals, from solo reinvention to heart-saving concerts, Sting and Francis Tumulty turned personal upheaval into a symphony of renewal. Their story reminds us that love's fiercest tests can kindle the most radiant collaborations, and that the echoes of a broken vow can still give rise to music, purpose, and hope that carry on, well beyond the wounds that started it all.